Friends, I have a confession to make. And that confession is, I judge books by their covers. I know, it's a cardinal sin. You're definitely not supposed to do that, but I can't help myself. Sometimes I literally pick up books just because I like their covers. If a book has a beautiful cover, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to find out about the synopsis. I might know nothing about it beforehand, but I'm much more likely to buy it if I think the cover is awesome. And I'd love to do a video in the future about the psychology of book covers, because I think it's really important to the marketing strategy of a certain book. But for now, I'm just going to talk to you about how I get a little bit obsessed with certain book covers. Roll the intro! I often find myself getting pretty obsessed with book covers, like just in general, but it takes a lot for me to be so obsessed with a book cover when I see it that I'll actually buy it based on the cover itself. But that's actually what happened to me when I found this book, All the Birds Singing by Evie Wyld, at a library book sale. I bought it for $1, so it wasn't like a big investment or anything, but I literally just picked it up because I loved the cover so much. And part of that's just because I love like nature-y scenes and like this kind of natural palette a lot, so that's part of the reason why I picked it up. But another thing that I loved about it was just that the art style on here is like this kind of weird fragmentation. There's animals there, and that you don't actually get to see like the full face of any of these animals, and that it's just kind of like this weird jagged picture. What's cool about that is I actually ended up loving the book, and the cover represents the book really, really, really well. And without getting too much into the psychology of book covers, I find that interesting because the cover of this book attracted me to a book that I ended up absolutely loving. I thought the writing was fantastic, and it made me happy that a book that I thought was so aesthetically pleasing was also quite literary and enjoyable to read. The artistic design of this book in particular fascinates me because I love the way that because of these jagged pieces, you get a little bit of a clue into what the story's about just by looking at the cover. The story kind of deals with this farmer who lives on her own, and like there's this menacing presence around, and she's not really sure what's going on, and that kind of is, the book is kind of presented in a way that her memory is a little bit fragmented to the reader. So we don't get the full story. It's non-linear. You're jumping around through different time periods through her memory in here, and I think that that is beautifully represented in this cover, and I think it's perfectly designed. The designer is Joan Wong, and she sourced the images from the Art Archive and the New York Public Library. And I think that's a really interesting way to do a book cover, because I think a lot of people just go with like an original design, something that's like, you know, something they drew, something that they photographed themselves. This is actually taken from images that already existed, and I think that's a cool way to do a book cover, and obviously it worked because I was obsessed with this cover as soon as I saw it. Another book with a cover that I got completely obsessed with last year is actually The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. I already wanted to read this book because I'd heard so much about it, and I happened to check out of the library this exact edition of it, and I was like, whoa, holy beautiful book, and so I immediately went and bought my own copy because I loved it so much. But what I find most interesting about this cover design, which is by Kelly Blair, is the fact that these flowers so perfectly represent the girls in this story. They're girls who are not treated like actual people. They're treated like objects. They're treated like little fragile flowers, little kind of pathetic darlings. And it obviously affects their life in a great way because, you know, the book is called The Virgin Suicides for a reason. So I find that this gorgeous cover actually does a lot more to represent the story than a lot of other covers for it that I've seen. The other covers I've seen kind of focus more on the girls themselves, but this cover reminds us that the girls in the story are dehumanized in a way that they're treated as flowers, they're treated as objects, they are not treated as humans. I'm also just really obsessed with florals on book covers, and I'll pretty much buy any book that uses florals as a cover design because I think they're so pretty. And for the last cover that I've gotten completely obsessed with, The Grownup by Gillian Flynn, which is a short story that was actually put into a hardback copy, which I think is really nice, and was given out as a free gift for Book of the Month members. This is one of the best book covers that I've seen in a long time. So the story kind of centers around a ghost story in a sense, and around like a faux psychic who investigates a haunted house, basically, for this family that's being terrorized. But what I love about this cover so much is I love the simplicity of the colors. I love that it's black and white with like hints of silver and then this kind of like weird lime yellow green color. It kind of, to me, feels like old school psychic TV, kind of like a Madame Tussauds 70s vibe going on here, like mysticism and all of that. And it's a really unique cover. I haven't seen anything like this on the market right now. Usually people are kind of more when they're doing something simplistic, they're going for something that's a little more like striking, like a single symbol on the page. But here, like, they use this weird, interesting font that kind of evokes those vintage books, like pulp fiction classics and stuff like that, which I love. I think that that perfectly encompasses the mood of this story. One last little thing. I forgot to show you the inside of the Grown-Up has really pretty end paper, and that's another thing I get obsessed with. Sometimes I will just stare at the end papers in books, and that's ridiculous because it's meant to be on the inside, but I love it so much. Anyway, this one just has a really pretty one, and it looks like the inside of an old house, like the wallpaper. Okay, and that's all the book covers I have for you today. I'm actually obsessed with a lot more book covers, so I'll probably show you some more in the future that I get obsessed with, because every once in a while I just can't get a book cover out of my head and I have to like walk around and take pictures of it and show my husband like, Ross, just like, look at this book cover, it's so pretty. And he's like, yeah, honey, those colors are really good, yeah. And I'm like, no, like really though, this book cover. So I will be showing you some more of those in the future, and I'm going to do a video talking about the psychology of the marketing behind book covers at some point, because that's, to me, a very interesting topic that I think we can do a lot of talking about. Thanks so much for watching again. Please like and comment. Let me know your favorite book covers so I can go look them up and stare at them and be obsessed with their beauty as well. Please subscribe and have a great day. Bye.